Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Thursday, everybody. Hope your day and your week have been going very well so far. Got a new day, which of course means a new MLB Player Prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead, hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. I have 5 fresh new MLB player props to go ahead and share with you guys in today's MLB slate. But first, guys, before we dive into today's picks, a quick little recap of how we did yesterday. And overall, guys, it was a solid performance. 4-2 last night, so that is our second profitable night of the week. Unfortunately, Tuesday was so bad, it kind of undid a lot of the goodwill we did. But all that being said, it was a very solid night with some really good cashes in yesterday's slate. 2 of the last 3 days have been winning days, so let's go ahead and build on some of that positive momentum we gained back yesterday. We got 5 new player props. I'm very excited to go ahead and share them with you guys. So let's not waste any time. Let's just go ahead and dive right in. Jumping right into the outlier screen, guys, our first player prop in today's slate comes from the Blue Jays Guardians game, 1:10 p.m. first pitch. We had Kyle Manzardo of the Cleveland Guardians under 1.5 hits, runs, RBI. I'm personally grabbing this line for -135 over on BetMGM. It is available on multiple sportsbooks, though for varying odds. And I feel like I do have to reiterate this point because I've seen a lot of comments, a lot of discourse in the comments over the last several days. Guys, these player props, unless otherwise specified, are meant to be single straight bets. Okay? Straight bets, single bets, however you want to word it. They're not parlays. They're not meant to be parlayed. If you want to parlay them, that is 100% your choice. I'm just here to give you guys the data and the information as to why I like these plays. You do whatever you want with them, but they are meant to be bet as single bets. So if I go 4-2 and I write cashed in the thumbnail, and I don't know why I have to explain this, but it's been a lot of discourse over the last couple of days in the comments section. If I write cashed, that means we cashed, we made profit, we made money. It's not a parlay, so we don't need to hit all 6 player props. Obviously, I'd love to hit all 6 player props, but we don't need to make profit. That's the whole point of straight bets. That's why single bets are the way to go. Parlays are fun, but they're not ultimately profitable in the long run. Some of you might be saying, yeah, this makes sense. Why do you even have to explain this? Well, because a lot of people have been talking about it. Cash means we make money. These are meant to be single bets. I don't know if there's some confusion on that point. If you parlay them and you lose, that's on you. That's your choice. I'm not telling you to make these parlays. You parlayed them. That's your choice. I apologize if I come off as aggressive, but I feel like it's a pretty simple point that I've tried to reiterate in the comment section over and over the last several days, and it's just not getting through to certain people. So that, just wanted to reiterate that. Sorry to go ahead and deviate away from the player prop. But again, Kyle Manzardo under 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs, -135 over on BetMGM is what I'm grabbing it for. And the data is pretty solid across the board. 7 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the under, averaging 1.2 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 10 games. You go ahead and stretch the numbers out to the last 20 games. Still very solid, 70% hit rate, averaging 1.1 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 20 games. And then you go ahead and stretch the numbers out to the entire season view for Kyle Manzardo, and the numbers are still very solid with a 59% hit rate overall on the year for this under. 40 out of 68 games, averaging 1.56 hits, runs, RBIs per game overall this year. And even from a head-to-head perspective, 5 of his last 7 matchups with the Toronto Blue Jays, he's cashed this under. That is, of course, a 71% hit rate, averaging 1 hit, run, RBI per game across the last 7 matchups with Toronto. Now, they have played 5 times this year. He's cashed the under in 3 of the 5 games. They played 2 times so far in this individual series. He cashed the over in the first game. That was back on June 24th, so that would be Tuesday. Sorry, I get my days mixed up. Yep, Tuesday. And then yesterday, of course, he cashed the under. So pretty good numbers across the board here for Kyle Manzardo. And look at the key matchup stats down below. Also very solid numbers. Now, very small sample size, Kyle Manzardo versus Kevin Gausman. Just 2 plate appearances since 2018. But nothing done in those 2 plate appearances. Actually, he struck out both times. Very good for us. His overall numbers this year, Manzardo, 221 batting average with a 108.4 WRC+. You see a very slight increase in a batting average when facing off with right-handed pitchers individually, but the WRC+ does also drop when facing off with right-handed pitchers. And look at Kevin Gausman, really good numbers across the board. They get even better versus left-handed batters. The only number that increases from an overall perspective is his home runs per 9, but everything else looks very solid here. And if we jump on over to the GuyBostonSports.com dashboard, it kind of just reiterates a lot of the same stuff we talked about. Gausman, those are his numbers this year. Again, versus left-handed hitters, obviously a lot lower, which is very good for us. And then looking at the right side of the screen here for Manzardo, if we go ahead and zoom in a little bit here, you'll see Kyle Manzardo this is just over the last 30 days, so a little bit more of a narrow viewpoint here. Versus left-handed pitchers, 143 batting average with a 357 OPS. So again, the overall numbers were okay, still solid in our favor, but they're even better if we narrow the data down to the last 30 days. So overall, very good numbers. And Toronto's bullpen is solid enough that they should go ahead and be able to handle this under. All right, guys, our second player prop in today's video, we have Rays Royals, 2:10 p.m. first pitch. We have Michael Lorenzen of the Royals over 2.5 earned runs. We're grabbing that for -130 over on DraftKings. Look down below here. The data is solid, not great, but solid. 5 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 3.2 earned runs allowed per game over the last 10 games. And then if we go ahead and stretch the data out the entire season view for Michael Lorenzen, again, it's solid. It's not great, but it's solid. 53% hit rate, 8 out of 15 starts this year. He's cashed the over, averaging 2.93 earned runs allowed per game this year. And you do see some games with some really high run totals here, right? 7 runs he gave up in terms of earned runs versus St. Louis, 6 earned runs versus Cincinnati. 3 of his last 5 starts, he's cashed the over, and he's given up at least 2 runs in each of his last 7 starts. So he's always hovering around that line pretty consistently, and this is a pretty solid matchup in terms of the over. Now, from a head-to-head perspective, we will be honest and transparent with you guys. Each of his last 2 matchups against Tampa Bay, dating back to last year, he's failed to cash the over. So you see July 5th of last year, 0 earned runs. That was when he was a member. Threw me off for a second there when he was with the Rangers. Now he's with the Royals, obviously. But with the Rangers last season, 0 earned runs in that game. And then this year, he has faced them once, back on April 29th, about 2 months ago. He did give up 1 earned run in that game, but nothing more. However, Tampa Bay, their offense, and we'll talk about it in just a second, has been very, very hot of late. Jumping back over to the GuyBostonSports.com dashboard. By the way, guys, if you like what you're seeing here with the Guy Boston Sports dashboard, it's available to you guys for a monthly price, and it's really not that bad. $4.99 a month gives you full access to our daily dashboards. Evan updates these I don't know why I call him Evan. It's Ev. Never called him Evan in my life. No coffee before recording or any beverage before recording means I'm going to mix up some words every now and again. But our MLB dashboard here, guys, it's $4.99 per month, and you get access to these dashboards, which Ev updates daily here on the channel, and they're really insightful. I mean, if we zoom out here, you can go on the if you're betting straight bets or money lines or totals, this is very helpful. Player props is very helpful, and he's updating it and adding new information constantly. He's constantly looking for new ways to improve the dashboard. So go ahead, it's $4.99 per month. It's definitely worth it. It goes through every single game. It breaks down literally every single game. There's also a little key at the bottom for if you guys need it in terms of figuring out what each data point means and represents. But it's really insightful. It's very useful. We also have a link up above for all of our partners. We have all the spreads, the lines, everything, totals, everything. It's a really awesome tool that Ev has created. So go ahead and check it out. Again, GuyBostonSports.com. The link is down below in the description. And it's $4.99 per month to become a member and utilize the dashboard. Guys, it's really solid. You're definitely going to love it. But anyways, back to the Michael Lorenzen over here. Again, 4.81 ERA this year. You see a lot of basically Thanksgiving fall colors there. A lot of orange, a lot of red, a lot of yellow. Not good for Michael Lorenzen. Very good for us when we're betting it over here. For his earned runs. If we go over here to the Rays side of things, now this is the last 30 days, so it narrows down a little bit, but they are the #1 hitting team in general over the last 30 days, the best hitting team in baseball that's consistent across right-handed pitchers overall, and now on the road versus right-handed pitchers over the last 30 days, still 6th. So you see a lot of green there. One of the best hitting teams, #1 OBP, #1 OPS, top 5 in ISO, #1 slugging, really good numbers over the last 30 days. This is just not a good matchup for Michael Lorenzen, and I think he's going to get shelled in this one. So love this spot as our second player prop in today's video. All right, guys, our third player prop in today's video, we have another pitcher prop. We have Phillies, Astros, 2:10 p.m. first pitch. We have Hunter Brown of the Houston Astros under 4.5 hits allowed. We're grabbing this one for -135. Personally, I am on DraftKings. But again, you have a variety of choices here to choose from. Data is pretty solid here. 7 of his last 10 games, he's cashed this under, giving up just 3.9 hits allowed per game over his last 10 games. And he's actually cashed the under in 4 consecutive games here, including some good teams there. You see Tampa Bay, Minnesota, halfway decent hitting team. So a couple of decent ones. The Tampa Bay one, very impressive, obviously. We just talked about how the Rays offense has been the best in baseball over the last month. Well, they held him just 1 hit in that game. Pretty impressive and a very solid run for Hunter Brown. And if we do go ahead and stretch the numbers out the entire season view, it's still very solid. 73% hit rate on the year for this under. 11 out of 15 starts. He's cashed the under, averaging 3.73 hits allowed per game this season. So like I said, pretty good numbers across the board. We unfortunately don't have any head-to-head data here for Hunter Brown against the Phillies, but we do have the insights provided by Outlier here. And pretty solid data point here. Hunter Brown has failed to exceed 4.5 hits allowed in 7 of his last 8 games at home, averaging 2.9 hits allowed per game across the last 8 games played in Houston. So, and again, some pretty good hitting teams in that data range as well. So pretty good numbers across the board here for Hunter Brown. Now, if we do scroll down below here, the Phillies batting versus right-handed pitchers, they have been pretty solid all year long. It's the one negative of this spot. They're a very solid hitting team, top 10 in terms of batting average overall this year and across the last 30 games. All that red, not exactly what you want to see. Now, Hunter Brown, however, 98th percentile in terms of batting average allowed, 90th percentile BABIP, 97th percentile strikeout rate, and so on and so forth, 96th percentile in ERA. Really phenomenal numbers for him. I think his performance can outweigh how the Phillies offense has been playing. And another key data point that made me think this is a pretty solid player prop is the last 30-day batting numbers. Now, again, you see Phillies over the last 30 days, 11th overall, 9th versus right-handed pitchers, like we talked about in the Outlier data. Pretty good numbers, right? But versus right-handed pitchers, when they're on the road, and they are playing this game in Houston, obviously, a lot of those numbers drop. They're actually bottom 10 in terms of batting average, bottom 10 in WRC+, bottom 10 in OBP, bottom 10 OPS. All their numbers when playing on the road against right-handed pitchers over the last 30 days, the numbers do drop. Now, to be totally fair, it's obviously going to be a much smaller sample size because how many road games have they played, A, and B, how many road games have they played against individually right-handed pitchers? Now, that part of it, I don't have those numbers up for you right now, but based off of what we do have from a sample size, it shows the Phillies, when they're going up against righties on the road, they struggle a little bit more or a lot more than they normally do. Another key thing in the last real point before we move on to the next player prop is the Phillies' last 30 batting versus individual pitches, their runs above average. Now, looking at Hunter Brown, the 3 pitches he utilizes the most here, fastball, makes up 35.6% of his pitches. The sinker, 24.7% of his pitches, as you guys can all see here on this pie chart on the left side of the screen. And his third most utilized pitch is that knuckle curveball, 17% of his pitches. And for shits and giggles, we'll throw his top 4. We'll do change up 13.1%. Those are his top 4 pitches. Look at the Phillies batting last 30 days against certain pitch. So fastball, we talked about the most utilized pitch, right? They're 17th over the last 30 games. So not hitting the ball. They're not terrible, but they're not good either when hitting off the fastball. We talked about that knuckle curve, right? That was his third most utilized pitch. 27th, bottom 4 in Major League Baseball. Okay, we talked about the sinker, his second most utilized pitch. Bottom 10 in Major League Baseball. The changeup, bottom 10. So consistently, the only 2 pitches they've had a lot of success against on the last 30 days has been the splitter and the slider. The other pitches, which he heavily utilizes, not so much. So that's in terms of runs above average. Excuse me. That's in terms of runs above average. So to me, it seems like a pretty solid player prop. Yes, it has to be acknowledged the Phillies are a pretty solid hitting team. They have been all year long, and especially over the last month. But I do think Hunter Brown can come out of here giving up less than 5 hits. So that's our third player prop in today's video. And our fourth player prop in today's video, guys, one more pitcher prop with you that we're sharing with you here. We have Cubs Cardinals, 2:15 p.m. first pitch. We got Andre Palant of the Cardinals over 2.5 earned runs. We're grabbing that for -140 on DraftKings. But one more time, you can find it in a variety of different sports books for a variety of different odds. 6 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 2.9 earned runs allowed per game over the last 10 games. Like I said, pretty good data across the board. The overall number is 53% hit rate on the season. 8 out of 15 starts, he's cashed the over, averaging 2.73 earned runs allowed per game this season. So recent data is solid. Overall data is solid. From a head-to-head perspective, he hasn't played the Cubs yet this year, but their last meeting, June 15th, over a year ago, he only had one earned run in that game. But again, that's over a year ago. Tough to go off of that data. Looking down below at the overall numbers here, the Cubs batting versus right-handed pitchers. Overall this year, top 10 in a lot of the key categories. Batting average, OBP, WRC+, slugging. Over the last 30 days, we've seen a couple of drops here. And we'll actually jump over the outlier screen, the Guy Boston Sports dashboard, to kind of talk about the last 30 days a little bit closer. All right, like I said, back to the dashboard screen. Now, we talked about an outlier, okay? The overall numbers for the Cubs versus right-handed pitchers, really, really solid. Over the last 30 days, not so much. You do see they rank in the bottom half of the league. And in general, in their total offense, not just versus right-handed pitchers, versus all pitchers, bottom half of the league, actually bottom 10 over the last 30 days. Not ideal. Now, we do have this, and like we talked about earlier, it's a small sample size, but based off what we have, you see the Cubs hitting versus right-handed pitchers on the road, the numbers do increase, top 10 in a lot of those key categories. Still not great numbers there, but they do show a glimmer of hope here. Out of all the player props today, this is probably, in my opinion, the riskiest one, and it is minus 140, so that's up to your prerogative if you think it's worth the value. But we know this Cubs offense, although they've been struggling a little bit over the last month, they're capable of great things, and Andre Palant's not a great pitcher. I think they should be able to go ahead and cash it over. Again, on the road against right-handed pitchers of late, they've been pretty solid. I think they can cash the over. This is probably not a full unit play for me, but it's still worth taking a chance. I still think it's valuable enough to go ahead and bet yourself. All right, guys, in our fifth and final player prop in today's video, we have Marlins, Giants, 3:45 p.m. first pitch. A lot of early games today. We have Liam Hicks of the Marlins over half a hit. Grabbing that for minus 125 over on DraftKings. And again, data is pretty solid across the board. 6 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 0.8 hits per game over the last 10 games. Go ahead and stretch the data out to the entire season view. A 56% hit rate on the over. 28 out of 50 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 0.76 hits per game this year. Now, from a head-to-head perspective, just one of his last 4 matchups against the Giants, he's cashed this over. To be fair, it's a limited sample size, only 4. But he did cash it yesterday, though. 2 hits yesterday against the Giants. It is worth noting all 4 games against the Giants here are from this year's data. So it's all very relevant. It's all very recent as well, all within the last month or so. So 1 and 4 is not great. But again, he at least got 2 hits yesterday. It is a little bit of a smaller sample size, so we'll take it with a grain of salt. Last 5 games also, 4 of his last 5. He's cashed the over, averaging 1 hit per game. Again, all we need him to do is get one hit of any kind. Single, double, triple, home run, anything, and we cash the over. Now, looking down below at the key matchup stats, Liam Hicks versus Hayden Birdsong. Again, limited sample size, only 2 plate appearances since 2018. But in those 2 plate appearances, you see 0 hits, 0 nothing. Didn't do anything against him, but again, just 2 plate appearances, so very limited sample size. But it's in the matchup data to me that where this player prop comes to fruition. Now you see Liam Hicks this year actually having a pretty solid season versus right-handed pitchers like Hayden Birdsong. The numbers get better. You see his batting average increases, his BIP increases, hard hitting percentage increases, WRC plus increases. And the same goes for Hayden Birdsong when he's facing off with left-handed batters, and it's pretty significant. 246 batting average allowed, jumps up to 290. His BIP jumps from 301 to 342. His FIP from 378 to 453. His ERA from 325 to 401. You guys get the picture here. Versus left-handed batters, Hayden Birdsong has definitely struggled this year. And again, jumping over to the GuyBostonSports.com dashboard, you'll see the same thing. Pretty consistent here. Hayden Birdsong versus left-handed hitters. Not very good. Now, the one troubling thing, or another troubling thing I should say, besides the fact that only one of his last 4 matchups with the Giants he's cashed the over, is the fact that once Birdsong comes out, the Giants have the Bulls, one of, if not the best bullpen in Major League Baseball, which will make it a lot more difficult for Hicks to go ahead and cash the over. Now, going over to the right side of the screen, look at the last 30-day batting numbers here for Liam Hicks. Again, versus right-handed pitchers over the last 30 days, much better data. 300 batting average, 779 OPS. So, and we talked about it over here. Obviously, all increases, and over the last 30 days, it's been consistent. Versus right-handed pitchers, he's having a lot of success hitting the baseball. And just the cherry on top here, his most utilized pitch, Hayden Birdsong's most utilized pitch, is the fastball. 42.3% of his pitches are fastballs. And Liam Hicks this year batting with a 421 WOBA against fastballs, which is an increase from his overall 355 WOBA. Not as good versus the slider, but 288 still not terrible. And then his third most pitch, the changeup. That's where we really got some struggle there, which is 17.1. So again, all things to consider, but I do think it's a pretty solid matchup overall for Liam Hicks here. It only needs a hit. One hit, and we cash the over. For minus 125, the value is certainly there. Guys, that is it for me today. If you made it to the end of today's video, please comment 20 down below. I know the videos have been getting a little bit longer lately. That's because I like to go a little more in-depth using both Outlier and the Guy Boston Sports dashboard to kind of go deeper into these player props. I try to not go too much, but obviously we've also been throwing more player props at you guys. 6 yesterday, 5 today. I just have a hard time cutting them. I mean, I was going to cut a few more, but I like the plays. I'm going to give them to you if I like them. I don't want to cut a play and then I regret it the next day. So you get more player props. Hopefully we go have another great day today like we did yesterday. But regardless if we win or lose, we'll be back tomorrow with another MLB Player Prop video. Until then, guys, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Thursday. Let's go ahead and make some money.